All right, big project, very big project. If you don't know, my name's Nick. I live in the Catskills, that's upstate New York. I do a lot of working on the truck videos, working in the shop, working on the house, fishing, quick tip videos, 5-6 minutes, like information that'll save you some time or money. If you like that sort of stuff, you should subscribe. You're gonna be happy with the content, I think. This is not gonna be a quick video. If you clicked it, you probably saw the time. It's got to be close to 50 minutes, 45, 50 minutes or something like that. We're doing a ton of stuff here. Most people wouldn't put all this stuff into one video, but I wanted you to see it OEM, and then I wanted to see it totally custom. That's what I wanted. So we're taking off bumper filler panel, that's applique. We're taking off the grill, we're taking off the shroud, we're taking off the bumper and the valance. We're replacing the bumper with a Westin HDX Pro bumper. We're taking out the shocks and the springs. We're dropping the axle. We're putting in a leveling kit up front, a Thuren leveling kit. It's 2-inch. It's a Fox 2.0 with a Thuren spring. Is made by Betts though, but I guess it's Thuren spec'd. We're doing all this in this video. I am going to include some good points to skip to if you're just interested in the grill. If you're just interested in the bumper, how do you put it on or how do you take it off? If you're just interested in how to take the spring off, how to lower the axle, I'm going to give you some links in the description to the times. You can just click it and it'll jump right to the time. Obviously, I'd love you to watch the whole video, but if you're just interested in trying to figure out how to do something to your car, something specific, it'll be there for you. That's it. We got to bring the car in. We got to get started because this is a monster. This is a monster, and I got way more things to do after this. I still got the lights to hook up. I still got the winch. I got so many things. I got the back bumper. I got tons of stuff. So we got to get started. All right. Thanks. For this job, it's gonna really require some panel removing tools. Plastic is ideal. I'm gonna link this in the description. Got it on Amazon for like 20 bucks maybe or something like that, 25 bucks, somewhere in that range. And it is a cheap, obviously, but very large set of panel removers. There's a bunch of different colors. There's red, there's blue. I got them in yellow because there's nothing that I have that's yellow. I want to be able to look down and see it, which I highly suggest. A lot of people like to get all things that match. Well, and you can't easily see them. So I got yellow. It has a ton of plastic panel removers, and it has some metal ones, and it has some din removal tools, which I haven't used in a really long time. Take out a head unit, a radio, but these are going to be important for this job, without a doubt. So something like this, very easy. There's a little spot here. You can use a flathead, and I would say that that's what most people are going to use. But in reality, if you use these plastic things, if you slip, you're not going to scratch anything. Now, clearly, we're removing the chrome. Don't need the chrome anymore, but you know what? You could be pushing this way and slip and hit you don't want it. So one of these plastic, real thin ones, pops right out. Now, this is a two-piece setup. So after you take off that top, you got to come in here and lift off this is the female part, which also has a male part on it. This pushes in, and the other piece fits in it, and it makes this thing open up, and that's what catches it. Now there's also two, if I remember correctly now, actually. Yes, there's two in the back here. These plastic tools are the best. So good. They bend so that you can just get into a spot that normally you couldn't do with a metal one. They're awesome. You can see, took my shroud off, and I got my clips, and I taped them right to the part. Takes me an extra 5 seconds to do that, and I will never lose them. I'm not going to lose them. I know exactly how many I have. I know exactly what they go to. Done. In a week, when I put this thing back together, I'm not gonna be hunting around and trying to figure something out. Very simple. I thought it was a T25. These are not T25s. These are 10 millimeter. Yeah, these are 10 millimeter. They were very loose. These in the bag with the bolts. Oh, I see. It's it slides out. Okay, so this is good. There's some alignment pins, one on either side, and they slide in. On here, I'm going to put it back in to double check. Yes. And then you can't do it from the inside because it'll make it bind. So you have to grab it from the outside and pull it straight out. These pieces right here, this is a separate piece. There's 3 pieces. There's a left, there's a right, and there's a center. This piece is held in by just from clips. And it's just plastic. So you have to come in here. There's another reason why you need those plastic body panel removers, because you got to come in here, and this is the only place to get access, and you're going to be up against the paint. And you probably should even put a rag here too as well. But you're going to come in here and you have to pry and pop. I'm thinking it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what I'm thinking. That one looks like maybe it's right around here somewhere. The one I'm going to use here is a wide one. I'm thinking that's going to... It's not very thick though, this one. We'll use this. It's got a little more leverage. There it is. So that was definitely the first clip. Okay, so we got that piece in. That's good. That's going to keep it some pressure. And then we'll come back in here again. And I think I felt it there. There we go. Yep. That's it. Did not break. But also I didn't bend it that much, if you saw. I just popped this one. I held it with my hand. I came in here. I pried this one up just a little bit. I didn't try and do this whole thing. I got it in. I got a wedge. There's another reason why these kits are great, because they give you a whole bunch of tools. And then I slowly worked in here, and I finally got it to pop. These things are in there, and I am not looking forward to the other side. But we'll get it done. We'll just take it slow again. So this one, something smells a little funky here. This one is a little interesting. There's only 2 bolts that I can see, but there's no way this clip's holding this thing in. Wait. Let's remove this. Let's remove this. So here's what you couldn't really see. What I was doing underneath there is that these access holes right here, there's 5 nuts underneath each one of these, and you're going to put your impact through here, and you can hit all 5 of these nuts. And there's also 1 nut on the other side and 1 nut on this side, and I'll show you a close up of that with my phone while I'm talking here. But so it's 7 nuts total on the underside. Now, here's something I want to make an important point about, is that I don't think it's the same on a diesel, because there's an intercooler underneath here. I believe it's different. I believe there's less nuts. But on the Hemi, there's 5 here. For some stupid reason, there's 5 here and then 1 on either side. Now, here's the next thing I'm going to say. If you plan on putting a winch inside the bumper, just pop this thing off. There's a bunch of clips here. Just take this thing off. You might want to take this thing off anyway, because you will not be able to get the winch into the bumper with this thing here. I'm going to be putting a winch in, so in reality, I just took this whole thing off. It makes the access a lot easier. So that's the deal here. You just got to snake it around I think it's a coolant. It's coolant, or maybe Maybe this goes to the AC condenser. I'm not sure. I'd have to look again at what it is. But there's a little piece in here that you're just going to snake it around. No problem. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. There's about 8 of these little pop clips. And if you've got those plastic removal tools that I told you about in the beginning, then it makes it really easy. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6 fasteners. Is that it? Oh no, there's a couple down here. Okay. Okay, these are like a foot long. Look at these things. Well, it looks like we got 2 here. Okay, let me show you one thing here. There's a bolt here, and the same on the other side. You need to lift this up. It's hooked on that, and what that's doing is that's preventing it to falling forward when you unbolt it. So if you just lift this up, this is going to come right off. These 2 long ones go in here. So this is. You can't see me, but I'm putting the other ones in on the other side. This is kind of a good practice, is that if you can put them back, especially if they're different. All right, next we're going to work on this bumper. It's actually pretty easy if you got the tools. You need a 24 millimeter. That's the hard one, I guess, and an 18. An 18 you should have. You need 2 18s, actually, but 24, I'll show you that in a second. We're actually going to go underneath here. I'm going to use my phone. We'll switch to my phone because it's just going to be in focus, better, and I'll show you exactly what you need to take off. Fortunately, I don't have any fog lights or anything like that, so there's no wired connector that needs to be taken out. We just need to take out these tow hooks and the 2 18s on either side that hold the bumper in. The 24s are for the tow hooks, and for that I'm going to use an impact, a real impact. But if you're doing a new truck like this, you probably don't need an impact. I'm just going to do it because it's easy. All right, let's get down there. So the bolts that we need to take off are, there's one right here, and then there's one right here. These 2 are for the bumper. These are the 18s, and these 2 are the 24s. These 18s have 18s on the other side, so you have to hold that. So I'm pulling it from here. No fog lights helps in this particular case, obviously. Yep, that's it. All the panels are off the front end. We got the grill off. We got all the bumper filler off. We got the shroud off on the top. We got the actual bumper and the valance off. And it was actually very heavy. I am getting the new spring, which I don't need to drop the axle for to have the spring now, but I had that problem with the spring, and I emailed CJC. They got Thuren on the email, and Thuren said, we've seen this before. It's not going to be a big deal. You'll be okay. And I said, you sure? What's the warranty like just in case the powder coating starts falling off? Because I could see some cracks here. And I think what happened was the picture I took wasn't very clear. And I think when they looked back at the picture, they realized that there was a little spider cracks around that little dent. I'll show you the picture that I took. Then they replied back and said, you know what? We'll give you a new one. Don't even worry about it. And that was it. So it's great. And they even shipped it out right away, which was awesome because it took 3-4 weeks to get them when I first ordered them. But they probably have some contingency plans for stuff like this, and they always probably keep a few on the shelf just in case. And packed it up, shipped it the next day. Let's get to dropping this axle. For me, right now, it's going to be about 5 days. But for you, it's going to be about 2 seconds. Let's point out the obvious first. You can't put a jack stand underneath the axle. You have to lower the axle, so the jack stand cannot be underneath the axle. The jack stand must go right behind the radius arm. The radius arm is right here. Right behind the radius arm, where the radius arm connects to the frame, you're going to be right on the frame with the jack stand. I'm using a 5-ton Pro Lift. This is the first time I've ever used them. I'll link them in the description. I'll probably do a review at some point in time. I just want to test them out first. So far, they've been good. But I'll link them in the description. You can see them. They're like $58 each, I think. It's worth it to have 5 tons because you want the height. Here's the tricky part of this. So you have to jack it up from the axle. So what's going to happen then? The tire is going to go up. And at some point in time, you're going to max out the jacking of the axle, and it's going to start taking up the frame. But then once you take the jack out,
the frame's going to come down. The tire's going to touch the ground again. So here's what you do. This is what I did. You jack up the tire. This is when the tire is on. You jack up the tire to about 6 inches off the ground. You put the jack stand where it's supposed to be. Then you lower the jack so that the car sits on this jack stand and the tire is touching the ground. At that point, you crack the bolts. And then, if you don't have a gun, if you have a gun, then you don't have to worry about cracking the bolts. But if at that point in time, if you don't have a gun, you crack the bolts, and then you jack it up again from the axle till the tire is an inch off the ground. That's it. And what that's going to do is that's going to mean that the car is sitting on, the truck is sitting on the jack stand, but the tire is off the ground. That's what you need. You need the tire to be off the ground, but the truck to still be on the jack stand. Also, you're doing both sides before you take off the tires. Very important, because there is a chance, a small chance, but there is a chance that when you jack up the other side, you're turning the truck this way, and there's a possibility if your jack stand is screwed up a little bit, it could just, boom, fall off, and you want the tire on. All right, we're on the passenger side here. Shock, spring. This is that Thuren sway bar that I put in. And it looks like to me, all that needs to be done is, here's the radius arm, is that we need to disconnect the shock, disconnect the sway bar right here, and I think for safety purposes, we should disconnect the brake lines, not the brake lines from the caliper, but the brake lines from, what is it in? It's in the radius arm, and it's in the axle. It looks like there's 2 bolts here holding it in. And if we unbolt those, we'll get into this soft stuff, because everything else is a steel line, which means if we leave it connected, when we drop the axle, we could break it. Now, the bolt up here, it's this is an 18. This is obviously going to be on your car if you have a stock shock, which I assume you do. But what I've done is that I've come in through this side. You probably can't see it because my arm is there, but you come in through this side. And now, if you have a 2019 and it's got 60,000 miles on it, there's a chance this is not going to come off that easy. Mine was extremely easy. Next thing we got to do is take this bolt off. This is 21 millimeter. That's it. Perfect. Cracked it immediately. No, perfect. It's got one of these that holds it. So this makes it so that it can't spin. That little, I forget what you call those, flanged maybe? Beautiful. So this should come out. Okay, brake line bolts. That's the final thing for this side, and then we got to do it all again for the other side. There's one right here, and there's one right there. No problems. Will I get into here? Yes, I will. Sweet. Now, in my particular case, I took this bolt out, and this is a 19 mil on mine. You got to hold both sides. If you just have a stock sway bar in here, you need an open-ended wrench to hold one side. It's a little bit tricky. But on my particular case, it's just single bolt right there. There's one more thing I think you should take out. I assume it's on both sides. It's back tucked behind here. It's this plug. Sorry about the shakiness. I'm using my phone. This plug right here. And this one is a little tricky. So it's this little red piece right here. And then I came in here and just popped it right off. That's how I did it. I worked for a couple minutes trying to figure that out, but that's the easiest way. All right, one quick note on the driver's side. You can't put the ratchet in the same way because it looks like the ABS pump is there, or I think that's what it is. It's got brake lines going into it, so I assume it's the ABS pump. So you will need, actually there is an opening here. Oh, look at that. Oh, they give you a bigger opening. So in reality, it's really not that hard. If all you have is a 1/2 inch, oh yeah, look at that. I can't even. You need like a deep socket, or you need a 1/2 inch see if you can just slip a 1/2 inch in there. Yep. So, cracks, no problem. I have everything detached. You saw how I detached the passenger side. I did the same thing to the driver's side, less that plug. And all we're going to do now is, obviously, we're going to get our feet out of the way, and we're going to get our head out of the way, but we are going to lower the driver's side first. Now, I believe we need to lower the driver's side, and then we need to lower the passenger side. I actually think the entire axle needs to come down to get the spring out. And even if I could barely get the spring out, I won't be able to get the bigger spring in. Remember, it's a bigger spring. So we're probably going to have to lower the whole thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to crack this, lower it a little bit. We're going to crack the other one, lower that. We're going to come back, lower this. You know where I'm going with this, right? And it's going down very smoothly. And it should just bottom out because of this jack, which it did. All right, so we're going to crank that. It dropped maybe an inch. I assume you saw it. So now we're going to crack this one. And then we're going to come back and crack this one. Now, one thing, I hope you saw that, but when this thing lowered, this thing kind of twisted a little bit. So we got to make sure we're still on. Yeah, just doing it, looks like I'm just doing it like an inch at a time. Looks like something's happening on the passenger side. Yep, there it is. Okay, so you can hear the spring. When it's going to loosen up, you hear it. Yep. All right. So, yes. All right, let me get a tape measure. I'm going to tell you exactly how high it needs to be. I have the rotor 3 inches off the ground. Just watch your brake lines. Ooh, we need that. So there's this little rubber. This is the not a bump stop, but it's like the seat or the top for the spring. There's a little piece here, little knob, and it fits into a hole right there. So that's good. We are in great shape here. Now the question is, can I get the bigger one in? So here's a top view of the new and old. Obviously new is on the left, clearly. And it's a good bit longer. So we just barely got this old one out, which means this is going to be, we're going to have a hell of a time getting this new one in. That was decent. Just gave it a little tension. Let me see about this side now. Wow, yeah, it's not even touching it really. Now let's get back to this side. That's it. It's very close. Okay. Okay, it looks like it's going to go. So you can squeeze this. You can squeeze it 1/4 inch, and that looks like it's all it really needs to get in there. And maybe a rubber mallet. Well, Jesus, would you believe this? This thing is not even close. And I don't have any more room to drop this axle, I don't think. So I just dropped it a hair, but it's not going to be enough. And it's turning it the wrong way, really. So it this is tricky. I wonder if I need to jack up the driver's side. Let me see what happens when I jack up the driver's side. Sounds dumb, but it might turn it. Let's take a look at this.
it better. Am I gonna get this in? Let's just squeeze this thing. It's close. Yeah. So it looks like it'll go. What I'm gonna do here is that I'm just gonna try and I don't really want to scratch anything. And if you're gonna do this, definitely make sure you have the isolator on. You don't want to scratch your powder coating. It does seem like this is gonna work though. If I can just... It's close. Yeah, this is gonna go. All right, good. This is gonna go. Ooh, I got my hand caught between the... Yeah, wow, I got my hand caught between the spring and the frame. It's fine, but definitely scared me. Okay, we got the two springs in. Now we need to jack the axle back up. And I believe what we're going to do is we're going to jack it back up and we're going to reattach the sway bar. We're going to make sure that we can get the springs to sit correctly, which it looks like they're going to, but we have to jack up the axle to find out because remember the axle is going to turn, it's going to rotate. And we'll get those springs to sit correctly. We'll reattach the brake lines, and then once we have all that done, we will put the shocks in. All right, we have the shock here. I'm going to show you how to put this in. Now, most of these are kind of the same. Sometimes they they're flipped up this way. Sometimes they're like on an angle. For the rears, they're usually on an angle. This one is straight up and down. Pretty much all the fronts are straight up and down. But in this particular case, the stock one is reversed. I don't know what you want to call this, the piston and then the barrel. On this one, the barrel is on the top, but on the stock one, the barrel is on the bottom. It's just something different. It's not a big deal. The way they have this thing strapped, I think in some cases it's probably not that big of a deal, but in the case of the 2500, I would say that the strap, the way they do this is a mistake. So the reason they put the strap in is so that you have some room here. But personally, they have the nut, and not that anybody from freaking Fox or Thuren is going to watch this, but the way I would package this is that this nut, this washer, and this rubber bushing, don't put them on this thing. Put them separate, right, in a little bag. Put this strap on so that it sits on the bolt part. And then what you can do is you can bolt this in at the bottom, line it up, cut the strap, and then it opens up right in there. You can't do that with this because as soon as you can't get the stuff out of here without cutting the strap, you cut the strap, it opens up. Now, they're not that tough to squeeze. They're really not that big of a deal. And I'll show you. You can squeeze them by hand. It's not that big of a deal. You can bolt them in and then just push down on it and it will, without a doubt, compress. I'm going to squeeze it off camera here, just pushing it on a piece of foam. It's easy, it just slips right off. And you can see that we're nowhere even close to getting it in once you open this thing up. So we'll take off this nut. We're going to take off this washer and this bushing. So there's a washer in the bushing on the bottom and a washer in the bushing on top. The washer obviously goes next to the nut, so it goes in like that. Basically, the rubber bushings are squeezing this piece of metal. Make sure we don't screw it up and grab the wrong hardware here. Let's take this and put this, can you see in here? Whatever. It's pretty self-explanatory in this particular case.
we're just going to put this bolt back in, thread the bolt through, and then come in, hold this piece of hardware. It's like a flag. I don't know what they call these things, but it's like a flange nut or a flag nut or something like that. Hold it like this. Go from underneath. And just thread it on. Do it by hand until it stops. And then keep it loose. Now we need to, oh wow, this thing is so high, it's off camera. Oh my God. Can I get in here and lift it up just a bit? Yeah. All right, we're up here. We need to squeeze this. I'm gonna give you a tip. Don't stop squeezing. Don't, oh, I think I might have it, and then let go. You gotta have it. You don't wanna do this second time. So get in here and get some leverage on it. Squeeze it down. Yeah. And then line it up and let it go. And you got to put some weight into it. Obviously, you know, I'm a bigger guy, and if I put my weight into it, I can squeeze it. But if you really, I mean, you can do it. You can do it. There's another way to do it, and that is when you detach this, when you take off this strap, you put the top piece in, which means the bottom is going to be long, and then you put a jack underneath at that bottom and jack it up until it fits and you can slide the bolt through. If you can't squeeze it, that would be an alternative. Make sure you use a piece of wood or something on top of the jack. Thing is, you kind of got your jacks. You need a third jack. Let's get in here. Remember, rubber bushing and metal washer. And then nut. You know, for looks purposes, you know, turn that fox out. Now, something important is that when you go and ratchet this thing, it's going to cause it's going to cause the barrel on the shock. I wish I knew what the name of that was. It's got to be a specific. There's a technical term for it. It's going to cause that to spin, so you're going to have to hold it. Beautiful. All right, we're in good shape. So all we need to now to do is jack this thing up, take the jack, whoa, no, yeah. Jack it up, put the tires on, take the jack stands out. That's what we need to do. All right, we're on day 3 right now. A couple things I want to point out. One is I have the garage door closed a little bit because the sun's coming in weird. Next thing is I'm using a shotgun mic, not a wireless mic, so the audio might not be there, but I don't want to catch the bumper because we're going to be putting the bumper on. I don't want to catch that on the wire. And also, day 3, I haven't been working on this thing for 3 days. Definitely not. In fact, I figured out the hours. This particular job right here, I've spent up to this point, meaning taking all the stuff off and replacing the springs and shocks. I've spent 8 hours so far on it, and that's with filming too. That's with filming. And this is the first time I ever put the springs and shocks in with lowering an axle like that. So I'm at 8 hours. I would say that I could have done this whole job in less than 8 hours for sure if I didn't have to film. And I probably could have done it in less than 6 if I've done it before. And I think the springs and shocks job is excuse me, if you've done it before, I think it's a 2-hour job. But really, honestly, I mean, that's pretty much it. From start to finish, it's like 2 hours. If you haven't done it, you're looking at 4 hours probably. One person, 4 hours, if you got the right equipment. So let's get started. We're going to be using an engine hoist to get this on here. This front bumper, an engine hoist. It's extremely heavy. Here's what I'm going to suggest. If you don't have an engine hoist, you better have 2 friends. That's really what it comes down to, or you better have like a weightlifting single friend.
because I personally wouldn't want to get underneath this thing with just one person holding it, unless they were like, Mr. Olympia or something like that. Because in reality, this thing weighs a lot, and it's very awkward. It's not like it weighs, I don't know, maybe it weighs 150 to 200 pounds, but it's awkward. It's not like a barbell with 150 pounds. It's not that. It's oddly shaped. It's very difficult to pick up. When you pick it up, your hands are going to get eaten up by the metal. It's a difficult thing to pick up. So ideally, 2 friends, if you have them, if you have 2 friends that can come over and help you, this thing will go in 30 seconds. Honestly. You just line up the holes and you put the bolts in. You only need 1 bolt on either side, then they can put it down and they can let go. So the 2 friends would be good. I don't have 2 friends. I got 1 friend and he lives 3 hours away. So we got an engine hoist. That's my friend today. So let me explain to you what I got set up here. Obviously, I have the bumper. It's on the legs of the engine hoist. This is a Pittsburgh. It's a 2-ton. I got it used. It really only was used twice. It looks brand new. I got it for 150 cash. I think it's like 270 new. They make a 2-ton. Pittsburgh is a Harbor Freight. I think they make a 2-ton and a 1.5. I believe. Don't quote me on that. I'll link this one in the description. I think it's like 250 or 270 new. Again, 150 cash. Very happy with the price for sure. I didn't even try and talk the guy down. You might be wondering what in the world this is, so I'll explain it. This is, if you work construction, you know exactly what this is. This is fall protection. You put this around your waist to the buckle here, and then this attaches to a tie-off. If you work on the edge of a building, it's very important to have this. A lot of people don't put it on, but I have this because I used to work at a construction company, and every once in a while we'd have to go in the field. I was a project manager. Every once in a while you have to go into the field and check some things out, and I kept everything with me, honestly. I kept fall protection. I kept the hard hat. I kept everything pretty much. In case I had to look at something on the edge of a building, I had my fall protection. It's that simple. Obviously, I don't do that anymore. It's been a long time since I've been there, or we're coming up on 10 years now. But yeah. So this is what I'm using because it's what I have, and I don't want to scratch it. I could use chains, but I have chains, but I think it's going to scratch it up. The working weight on this is way more than this bumper. Clearly, this thing is hanging off here because I don't want to ruin the fall protection. But if it does get in the way, I'm cutting it. I don't care. All right, I didn't even feel like setting up the camera. I just got my phone here. Sorry if it's a little shaky. I had a bit of a revelation here, and it's very difficult to get this thing to go in. But I realized that, I'm going to get you underneath here, and I'll show you. I tried a whole bunch of different things, and then when I realized this, seems pretty obvious. To get this piece and the one on the other side to line up with, the male end, it's freaking impossible. But guess what? I guess they predicted that. So there's one here, 2 bolts, and then there's 2 on the top. If you loosen those, this whole piece moves. So what I did is that I picked one side, I picked this side, I loosened this side. That one I left solid over there. I got that in, and then I came over here and I jiggled this around and I got it to line up and I got it to go in. And we just got to push it up to get the bolt in, which should be fairly simple. Maybe I need a jack, but without a doubt, you need to loosen these bolts. All right, these are the 2 bolts that came with it, but I'm putting in this bolt, and this bolt comes from the tow hook, and the nut doesn't look like this. Actually, it looks like that was a flag nut, but it has a hook on it. You have to cut that hook off if you want to reuse this. You cut the hook off and then it works. There's no spot for this hook to go into. It's just, once this bumper is on, it covers up that hole, I think. So you cut this little off. I cut it off with a grinder and put this bolt through, and it looks like this. The nut on the other side. Now we got 3 bolts. I don't think they intended you to put this on here. I definitely don't think so, because they wouldn't say, oh, cut the flag, you know what I mean? Cut the flag in half. Nah. So I'm gonna put it on here, 3 bolts plus this bolt is serious, and it just a little peace of mind. So that's what I'm doing. You can do it if you don't have toe hooks. Obviously, you can't do it. You could buy another bolt though at some point in the future and throw it in there. It fits a big bolt. This thing is a monster. All right, we're all bolted in. 6 bolts. 6 bolts. I'm going to drop this hoist, and we're going to see what happens. I assume it's not going to move. I mean, I would say that it will, the car will move. I think the whole thing will move as one because I assume there's still some tension on it. But we will find out right now. Yeah, the whole car moved. Bumper didn't move along. Whoa, chill. Okay, grill is in, solid. Bag is empty. Let's get those stick-on pieces. Let's do that. And I got some bug cleaner. This is the correct one. Okay, there is a left and right. Yes, there is a left and right. This does not feel like it's going to stay on. This is GooGone. I've done a video on this. There's some adhesive here from tape. And I'm assuming just a little bit of this GooGone. Totally just wiped it away. Perfect. Okay. No harm done to the piece. Nice. Bag of hardware for the big piece, but we need to put on these small pieces. Let's just snap in. Yeah, okay. So fit this corner in first. There's just another alignment pins, and then perfect, easy. It's pretty mean looking right there. Get you a better view. Man, that is mean. Oh man, that's looking great. Get the footprints off. I was just kicking this thing to get it into place. All right, we're done. Tightened up these corners and it's looking great. I'm very happy with this job. It took me a while, and I'm hoping if you stayed around for the entire video, that I really appreciate it. It's a long video. Trust me, and it had to have been 40 minutes. What, 45 minutes? It's a long one. Most people would have separated a lot of this stuff. People would have been like, how to put the R on, how to put the A. But, I did it in one video. Maybe I'll put some times in the description to show you, if you want to jump to specific things. If you want to know how to just put the RAM in the RAM, the emblems, I mean, I can, I'll give you time for that. So it's not bad. But if you watch the whole video, I do appreciate it. And if you like this sort of content, you like working on the truck stuff, you like working in the shop stuff, construction on the house stuff, subscribe, because this is the stuff that I do. This is the stuff I like to do. So I hope you learned something. Thanks a lot. See you.